Hi, my name is Anna Poludenko. I am a PhD student at Kyiv-Mohyla School of Journalism. My research is about information and communication technologies being used as a tool for civic engagement during the Euromaidan movement. So let's start. The new information and communication technologies were used to foster citizen advocacy, to debate about new policies, and to increase government accountability. How that was made during specifically during those few months of the most active events of the Euromaidan movement. So people were using it to enhance their own communication, to get access to some information that nobody would find other ways and media did not cover, and to allow participants to of the Euromaidan movement to engage in a conversation no matter and participate in the movement even virally, no matter of their location, so to say. The novelties of my research is in the revealing of the particularities of how the information and communication technologies were used by the members of the Ukrainian society during the movement. Also the utilities and shortcomings of those tools. For example, who couldn't use them, why some people could not use them, and why sometimes they were not effective. And then challenges different parts of society had accessing them. Here we're going to talk about digital divide, like how some parts of the country, in some parts of the country, people did not have the ability to use them. And finally, the role of the communication technologies in the outcomes of the Euromaidan movement. I divided, using the method of network analysis, I found out the main actors, the opinion makers, so-called agents, whom I was studying, and their ICT usage. So there were three main groups. Officials, they used ICT tools to coordinate their work, to produce official statements, some confirmation to some public information that was published by the media. And then civic groups, they used it to monitor for activism and education. And then finally, general public, they are journalists, opinion makers who use the social network to spread the word about the events, to say what people are needing, the participants, and how things are going on Maidan. The tools were used to increase the participation as well as to discourage people from the participation. The most popular tools used were social media websites, mobile devices, crowdsourcing platforms for online broadcast, and news media websites. Well, internet is getting more popular in Ukraine, as well as the usage of information communication technologies is increasing. For example, according to the survey conducted by the TNS, more than 90% of Ukrainians were following the news, and less than 10 were not following the news about Euromaidan. But when asked about where do you get your information about Euromaidan movement, more than 75% of people asked research said from relatives and friends, a little bit more than 65 from internet, and more than 55 from TV. This way we see that the traditional media like TV and newspapers are losing their battle with internet in conflict, when covering or when talking about conflicts like Euromaidan movement. And then the penetration of internet in Ukraine is growing, but during the November February period of the Euromaidan movement, the most popular websites used by Ukrainians were of Kentucky. That's the third most popular website, and then goes YouTube, Facebook, Ukrainian Pravda, which is a news website, CensorNet, and Twitter. Mostly Ukrainians were, during that period, accessing internet through like computers or laptops. Only 19% were using internet through were accessing internet through the mobile device. But still, this is a big number for Ukraine. And then, first of all, the ICT tools were used to coordinate by participants to coordinate their activities, to find out who needs what, where people need help, whether you need doctors or food or any medicines. Then also for crowdsourcing, for example, some websites like spilnokosht were created where people could donate money to support the participants of Euromaidan movement. And then Ditch Maidan, which is a crowdsourcing platform for those artists that wanted to cheer up the participants. They could create some Photoshop pictures or just memes that would make, or cartoons that would make fun of the government and bring up the spirit of the participants. And then it was used, the ICT tools were used for alternative information for the international community, because it was somewhere after like months or so when the international community started picking up the subject and coming to Ukraine. Well, before that they were mostly taking information from Reuters, or even worse, Russia Today, which was not accurate. And this is why even working in Ukraine, it was hard for them to find like a fixer, people who could explain them something or just translate, help to find experts. And the ICT tools were used to help those journalists who needed help. And then also for source of information from friends on the ground, as we saw, that was friends and relatives. That was the most reliable source of information for many, and this is why ICT tools connected people on the ground on Maidan with their relatives and friends at homes all around the country. Also, civic opinion makers created this new trend that they started using the websites of social media, and they turned them into their personal blogs. And we made this research that while before the average Facebook post of, so to say, civic opinion makers would be like 20 characters, during the Euromaidan movement it was more than 60. So people were using them like blogs to spread the word, to explain what is going on. But at the same time, ICT tools were used to decrease the civic engagement, and mostly this was made through hacking social media website accounts of the opinion leaders and spreading the misleading information, and then also phone hacking of the most active participants and from politicians of the Euromaidan movement. For example, the press secretary of Mr. Klitschko, Yatsenyuk, and Technobok have reported that their phones have been hacked, and they would get phone calls every hour, and instead of anyone speaking, there would be a Murka melody playing. And then also for trolling on Twitter and Facebook group pages, Euromaidan group pages, we found many trawlers spreading the same information on behalf of different people, saying that it's cold there and politicians are just using us, I'm not going there, and stuff like that. And also website hacking, as you could see, Pravda, Ukrainska Pravda was one of the most popular websites at the time. It was hacked numerous times, and then Censornet and Glavcom as well. And then also ICT tools were used to spread Euromaidan related myths. For example, that Russian forces landed in the airport around Kyiv. The Ukrainian army brings tanks to the capital, and the participants of the Euromaidan movement were suffering from tuberculosis epidemics and other diseases. All these myths were mostly aimed at making people stay at home, not joining, not assisting those that are already fighting on Maidan. And so the main purposes of the ICT tools usage during the Euromaidan movement was to spread misleading information, to stop communication information, among the participants. And finally, as a conclusion, we can see a greater valuability of ICT tools in Ukraine. They were used both to discourage people from participation and as well as to encourage general public and international community to participate. Thank you for your attention.